Hello, everyone. I am starting a couple minutes early just to make sure that my sound levels are audible. So if everybody in the chat could give me a quick yay or nay on my volume level. Otherwise, I have to check my settings real quick. Echo. Uh-oh. There's an echo? That's not good. It's live. Mike says it sounds good. Cannabis says it sounds good. Slave of my cat says it sounds good. All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. I wanted to take this opportunity, like I did in my little announcement video, to say thank you again to everyone who is subscribed. I looked today, and apparently, strangely enough, I have 1,200 subs as of this afternoon, which boggles my mind. And now my phone is beeping at me for some reason. Let me turn that on silent. Why don't I? That would have been the professional thing to do ahead of this, but this is me not being much of a professional. Okay. I've taken my headphones off because I just realized I'm not having a conversation with anybody in the stream, so I don't have to listen for other things. Any case, again, thank you so much for the support. I started this channel, gosh, I think mid-September, something like that. I'd have to double check the date. And when I started back then, I wouldn't have imagined at all that I'd be at 1,000 subscribers, let alone 1,230 or whatever it is now. So, in any case, this is an Ask Me Anything stream. If you didn't already tell by the title, I have all the questions that have currently been posted to the announcement video in front of me. I'm going to go down the list. If you happen to have any questions during the course of the stream, by all means, tweet them to me because I will probably miss them if you do so in the chat. If you look at the description of the video, there's a little hashtag there, Scribe questions. Once I get through with the questions that have been posted to the announcement video, and granted there's enough time left, I will go to Twitter and look up any questions that have been posted with that hashtag. And then read those off until we finish out the hour. And then after that, I'll be on the monkey stream as usual. So let us begin with 3 questions, because he's a greedy bastard, from Danny the Dingo. And Danny asks, firstly, how many blue wonkies does it take to ooga booga a Wampeltinger? 7. Question number 2. If a train leaves the station on Tuesday and is going 100 miles an hour, what color is my watch? Ronald Reagan. Question number 3. If you and Ranting Monkey ran at one another as fast as you could, how many light bulbs would need to be replaced at the local old folks' home? 1, because that's all Bloodwing needs to read by at night. All right, moving on. Slave of my cat says, my question is, where do you want to take your channel and how many dicks have you ridden? Well, the answer to the latter portion of that is 0. And where do I want to take my channel? It is going in the direction that I want it to, I guess. I started, I mean, there's other questions that'll touch on this. And I guess I'll save that. I mean, in general, how it is going right now is how I imagine it going forward. Doing videos and asking questions and sort of analyzing different subjects that I come across. Beyond that, I just want to have fun and keep my imagination and mind and my creativity active. So, and meet new people like you guys. So, Better Red says, take your channel and go home. Well, I am home. So that was a quick trip. Thanks, Red. Let's see. Fernanda asks, what is on my bucket list? Before I die, I would certainly like to go to Ireland and Scotland. I have ancestry there that I've always wanted to visit. Also London, just basically the British Isles in general, I suppose. I'd like to go to London. I've always had a thing for that. Jack the Ripper. I want to go on the Jack the Ripper walk. There's all these vampire stories and things like that. What else? Uh, Gosh, bucket list. That's not traveling. Oh God, I don't know. Um, that's really tough. I mean, I don't really think of life in those terms, I suppose. Let me think about that a little bit more, Fernanda, and let me come back to that because I should have more complete answers than that. Let's see. Oh, Tailed Featured has offered his place to Crash Yet. Should I come over there? I may indeed do that at some point, depending on how things hash out over time. Um, I know that already, cheater. Oh, okay. Bucket list. Um, God, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think of it. I don't think of life in those terms. I swear to God, I will come up with some better answers by the time the stream is done. I promise. Mashisu has been very persistent in making sure I answer this question. What brand of condoms do you use? Uh, it's a brand called Lifestyle. I think it's pretty much like a standard brand. It's nothing exciting. When condoms are necessary, that's the brand I've ended up with. I don't think out of any design, but just because they were available. Let's see. Dr. Dave asks, question, do you think that Islam would ever get reformed? And if so, how? I think the only reformation of Islam you could hope for is something to the effect of what has happened with Catholicism or Christianity, I guess I should say, is that it becomes more and more secularized over time. The problem is that the core message of Islam is conquest. I mean, its central figure was a warlord, whereas Christianity's central figure was a hippie, more or less. There's less room to maneuver in a philosophy that requires subservience by the sword or conversion or death, that kind of thing. I'm not saying that it can't find a more secular middle ground. I just think it's going to take a much longer time because it is a technically younger religion. And so for it to, in the wider world, calm down, let's say, it's going to take a much longer time. I think it's possible, just difficult. Skaggles the Squirrel asks, which game series is your favorite? I don't really play console games anymore, so game series that I collect, probably Max Payne. If I had to, Max Payne and maybe Far Cry, at least Far Cry 3 and forward. I didn't play Far Cry 1 and 2. But Max Payne has always consistently been something that I really enjoy. The writing and the characterizations and the action, I really like that series. Golden Slumber ZZZ asks, what subject matters interest you most? Anything where someone is making an argument um, of on society or opinion or whatever. A lot of my material has ended up focusing on things like social justice or feminism or diversity or white privilege or these kind of things, sort of by instinct more than anything else. But there was one video I did recently where a guy was complaining about the Hurt Locker not being accurate and therefore not being a good movie. And then he goes on to list a whole bunch of other war movies, which are themselves movies and more likely than not very accurate. And just the way his argumentation sort of hashed out, it was similar to the same kind of argumentation that I see in some other topics. And I really enjoyed that one because it was um, off my usual material, let's say, but it also required of me the same kind of thinking. So if I can find subjects that um, make an argument that catches my brain somehow in either hypocrisy or illogic or whatever else, that's usually what I'll fall upon. Let's see. Fwoggy asks, hey, Scribe, congrats on 1,000 subs. Thank you, Fwoggy. What are some of your coping strategies to handle stress? Breathing. um, when my anxiety and stress was at pre-medicated levels. It was really a matter of internalized forcing of the stress off to its own little corner. Understanding that it was manufactured in a way. I just sort of my friend and I had the phrase of putting the baby in its crib. So I would just sort of try to ignore it. It never went away, but I tried to ignore it. But in general terms, stress otherwise, I try to keep perspective on, okay, what's this situation's problems as compared to worse problems I've had in the past. Um, and also reminding myself that, and it's a pretty easy reminder, that getting all freaked out and emotional about whatever's going on will not actually solve the problem. Usually it's something methodical and something cool headed that will take care of the issue. And when I'm sort of by myself and sort of, concerned about something as crazy as it is, I tend to talk to myself and talk out my problems out loud. Something about articulating my thoughts rather than just having them roil in my head seems to help out quite a bit. Let's see. Better read than dead. Question. If you were stranded on a desert island, what three things would you want other than me and lube? Um, well, flogger, obviously. Non-sexual question from Better Read Than Dead. Has there ever been a movie that was better than the book? Which ones and why? Yes, the movie Limitless was better than the book. I read the book in preparation for seeing the movie because the movie looked kind of interesting. And I read the book, and if I recall correctly, the book was written by an Irishman who was setting his story in New York City in America. And there were several aspects to his story in the book that completely threw me off. For example, the protagonist at one point tries to hit on the daughter of one of the other characters, and he tries to chat her up to take her out for a drink when it is explicitly said that this daughter is 19 years old. And I believe that might be a legal age in Ireland or Europe or UK, but not in America. So it kind of threw me off. Also, there were different spellings for check with a Q and curb with a K and all this other crazy stuff. And also, there was this whole subplot of where the magic medication came from that led nowhere by the end of the book. And so, anyway, short version, if there was one, Limitless is the first movie that comes to mind where I actually read the book, saw the movie, and thought the movie was better. Let's see. Golden Slumber slipped in another question. I just kind of copied and pasted these onto a doc. So let's see. What countries have you been to? I imagine you may have been a spy or assassin, and I want to join up the dots. The only country I've been to other than America is Canada. That's it. I am not an international world hopper, at least not yet. I hope, hopefully, to have a reason to go to other places in the future. Juan Noggety asks, can a penis ever be considered feminine? I guess it could be considered feminine by someone. I don't know how else to answer that. Anybody can consider anything if they'd like. I would love to hear the argument as to why a penis should be considered feminine, but I don't have an answer otherwise. Nancy Muncie asks, are you married? What? Legit question. No, I am not married. I have never been married. Neither do I have any kids because those can be two separate things. Messier Fox asks, I am an ex-SJW and am learning more about the centrist / conservative / Republican / libertarian views. Are there any sources or news outlets you would recommend? Anything your instincts would tell you to ignore because of ideological reasons, sub to that. Read an article or two out of there once in a while, or compare articles on major stories that you care about between a source that you would usually go to and one that you wouldn't, and just see how they compare or how they, analyze things differently. The only advice I have if you want to try to stay out of an echo chamber is to forcefully make sure you are outside of the echo chamber and pay attention to things you might not otherwise do. I follow plenty of people on Twitter that ideologically, I suppose, or at least on several topics I disagree with. But then once in a blue moon, they say something I agree with. I can be on common terms with, and that I think it keeps me honest a little bit. Mr. Shiny Pants asks, "Don't take this the wrong way." Well, with a preamble like that, why shouldn't I take it the wrong way? But you sound like a psychologist. Are you trained in the soft sciences, i.e., psychology, sociology? No, not beyond the most basic of classes I might have taken in college. My only curriculum vitae to speak of is an English degree that focused mostly on creative writing. And other than that, years and years of movie watching, which I think is evident from most of the streams I'm on. Point Curation asks a couple of questions. What sets you apart from your peers on YouTube and in real life? And this might sound like a criticism, but it's not. I don't mean it to sound that way. I make it a point not to argue the person, but rather argue the argument. A lot of drama and a lot of catharsis can be had from either making fun of or insulting or bad mouthing the subject of a video. I don't have that instinct in me. I don't have that reflex. So I try to focus on what they're saying, not who they are. Unless, of course, they make themselves part of their argument or their idea. If they use themselves as an example, like I guess the closest I come to arguing the person in some instances is if they start out their conversation saying that they are a doctor of something. At that point, I would say, well, they are putting forward their education as part of their credibility. Therefore, their education is a fair thing to look up or to criticize if it's relevant. Aside from that, yeah, I also I have done it a couple of times in brief instances, but it was in some of my earliest videos, but I tend not to do videos on other YouTubers or other individuals that are just sort of in front of a camera. I have leaned towards focusing on people who assert themselves as educators or experts or professionals in a particular subject matter or something, and not just, amateur critics like myself, because hey, everybody's entitled to their opinion. It's the people that position themselves as leaders or spokespeople or something that I feel more comfortable looking at. Point's second question: is there a capacity as a content creator, skeptic, philosopher, jerk on the internet that you would like to work on? And if so, what can your audience do to help you keep on track? Is there a capacity? I'm not quite sure how to answer that question. I don't think of myself as, so to speak, a skeptic or a philosopher. In most of my videos, you'll see that a lot of the times I'm usually restating something that someone has said, or, oh, Ralph Scott. Oh, thank you, Russell. Ralph Scott and Russell Ralph Scott is my very first super chat donator. Thank you, Ralph Scott. This broadcast is brought to you by Ralph Scott. If you want to get out those tough stains, think Ralph Scott. And Russell Serrante. This broadcast is brought to you by Russell Serrante. When you want to whiten your teeth and your laundry, remember Russell Serrante. Thank you, guys. Yeah, so in a lot of my videos, you'll see that I restate what the person has said, and I ask a lot of questions. I think it's more my mind trying to piece out what they are saying, or my finding inconsistencies or negative space in what they're saying. I think I try to promote critical thinking more than anything else. I don't claim to have the answers or have better information necessarily, but if someone is positioning themselves as an expert or as an authority figure, I think it's only fair that they be questioned, even if it's only, secondhand as I do with videos. Point Curation's third question: what long-term projects do you have on your mind? I would like to do sort of, and we've talked about this before, Monkey and I, sort of mystery science theater movie commentaries that people can turn on and listen to along with a particular movie. Um, Other projects, um, I'd like to be able to work in some more interesting editing effects with my videos. I'm not quite sure what those would be. It's sort of a trial by error thing right now. But honestly, if nothing uh, crazy trained, if nothing crazy changed about my format from here and years from now, I don't think I'd feel too bad. So yeah, I mean that's subject to change. I could come up with an idea tomorrow that would throw everything off. And Point's last question: do you have any opponents that you would like to bury the hatchet with? Oh, Tailed, thank you so much. Fucking me. This broadcast is brought to you by Tailed Feature. For the most stubborn of toe fungus, think Tailed Feature. Any opponents I would like to bury the hatchet with? I don't think I have any opponents. The only person that I know of, one of my earliest subjects, John Eckloff, he blocked me on Twitter. I don't think that was because of my video. I don't have any reason to think he ever saw my video. But the sort of tweet campaign I did trying to figure out how the Boom experience was getting away with violating Title IX, I think that probably got back to him. That's my guess. But I don't, and I would love to interview him. I would love to interview Dr. Hoff, Chris Hoff, the radical therapist. Again, I don't see these people as opponents. I want to make that very clear. I don't have any animus towards just about any of my subjects. I've made some heated comments maybe at some of their statements or claims, depending on which video we're talking about. But I don't see them as opponents. I just see them as somebody who's got an opinion or is stating their case, and I might have an objection. But I would be completely open to just chatting with any of them. I mean, if that were possible. Okay, moving on. Gabrielle, my favorite YouTuber, he who I am stalking, at least virtually, he who is in the process of making a new video, but real life has slowed him down, so I'm waiting with bated breath for his next video. He says, what are your thoughts on the new Star Wars movies, and how do you think they compare to the originals and the prequels? Well, given the fact that we only have one, I guess Rogue One kind of counts, sort of. I could go on at length about Star Wars, as many of you might know from the Monkey streams, and maybe I'll do a dedicated stream at some point on just that topic. In short, though, The Force Awakens was so much of a clone of A New Hope. Oh, Terry Diamantis, thank you so much. I want to see what item you make me an ad for. Oh, this broadcast is brought to you by Terry Diamantis. It slices, it dices, and Julianne's fries. Think Terry Diamantis. A Force Awakens was so much a clone of A New Hope that it's difficult for me to give it high ratings, save for the fact that it was new Star Wars and introduced some extensions of the storyline. I think that damaged my overall opinion of it, and also the sort of Mary Janing of Rey. Oh, Skaggles the Squirrel. Thank you, Skaggles, for your donation. Skaggles the Squirrel. For when you have that not so fresh feeling, think Skaggles the Squirrel. As far as Rogue One, I thought Rogue One was pretty much useless. There was no sense of camaraderie. There was no sense of danger for any of the characters. They all were basically superheroes with superpowers. And while it was neat seeing some of the Easter eggs and some of the effects and all that in the space battles and such, I didn't think it added anything to the storyline that was necessary. I think it was more of a proving ground for Industrial Light and Magic to show off its facial replacement technology as well as a billion other things in that movie. But I didn't mind it, but it's not anything up there. So far, nothing about the new movies has made me super optimistic that anything will match or exceed the original trilogy, but time will tell. I'm happy to be surprised on that score. All right, moving on to Peter Hades 313 Silac. The Peter. The Peter. How did the name Scribe Light originate? There was the brand of the CD drive or DVD drive that I had on my old computer was a company called Light Scribe, and I just flipped the words around. Although it seemed to fit as well because I mean I am an English major and I have written fiction in the past and such, so it seemed to fit and it seemed to be a relatively nice. I like the sound of it. So there you go. That's where the name came from. Angela Ariaga, I hope I'm saying that right, says, is your anxiety worse in certain situations over others, or is it pretty much always the same? My anxiety tends to peak when it does, thankfully not as much as in the olden days before the medication, but my anxiety seems to peak more in the anticipation of having to do something social with like a lot of people or something complicated, or at social gatherings where I don't know anybody. You know, if I feel like I'm alone or don't have anybody to sort of commiserate with, that's usually when my anxiety peaks. Let's see. Tailed Feature asks, do you think social justice is in its death throes and that's why it's getting violent? I think that is the natural evolution of an ideology that is losing a sense of power or purpose, but I don't think it's in its death throes. I think that sort of like the Tea Party pulled the right wing further and further right in America to the point where nobody quite knew where the center was anymore. The center was far more right than it used to be. I think social justice in general is pulling the left far and far away. And that even when it gets to the point of extremism that might turn people off, the new metric of what equates to left will still be far left from what we were used to just 5 or 6 years ago. So, yes, but I think the damage is done, if that makes any sense. Let's see. Doomtart asks, what made you decide to start making videos? Was there some defining moment or was it just a whim? I had thought about it for a long time after watching Mr. Medicare, or Internet Aristocrat as he used to be, Skeptor and Sargon and Goodfella way back in the day. And this is just before Gamergate hit. I was starting to watch these guys or find these guys just before Gamergate hit. I think Thunderfoot was my gateway drug because I found his anti-creationist stuff before then. But I thought about it, but at the time I thought I can't really add anything to this because every time I heard Sargon break down a subject or Skeptor or somebody, I just thought to myself, I don't have anything to add to that. I couldn't say it any better. But then one random day last September or August or whatever, I was on Minds.com and Irate Bear, who at that point had like maybe 700 subscribers or something, he just put out a message saying, I'm going to go live here in a minute. Anybody want to join me? Oh, James Koch or Koch, depending. Thank you for the donation. Congratulations. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Let's see. This broadcast is brought to you by James Koch. When you need to whiten your teeth and your laundry, remember James Koch. So yeah, Irate Bear put out a little call on Minds.com asking for people to, if they just wanted to join him on a live stream. I'd never been on a live stream before. I'd watched plenty with Sargon and other people, so I just thought, what the hell? And I got into a live stream and started talking to him for a few minutes. And afterwards, we tweeted back and forth or messaged. I forget. It might not have been Twitter at that point. And well, I thought, hey, if this idiot can do it, I sure can. No, I'm kidding. Kind of. Because Bear's going to hear that and he's going to get pissed off. No, but seriously, he encouraged me to give it a try. I mean, just like I do and Monkey and I do now, when somebody asks, should I start a YouTube channel or whatever else, just do it. Just do it. I dove right into it and gave it a shot. And like I say, I'm humbled beyond words at where I'm at right now, just after a couple of months. Michael McLean asks, why do we only see your back in videos? Is there a giant scar on your face that you got from a knife fight with a monkey and you were too embarrassed to show us? I have no face. There's nothing there. That's the secret. I was born without features. It's just a blank thing of skin. That's it. Also, I'm a painting, so I can't turn around. I'm kind of stuck that way. So more likely than not, I don't have any features because it's just the other side of the canvas. Nothing for you here asks if you could take a pilgrimage to a foreign land and indulge in another culture, what culture would it be and why? Um, that's a good question. A foreign land and another culture. Truth be told, and maybe this is just from the movies I saw as a kid. If it wasn't such a dangerous time to be in that part of the world, I always liked the mystique of sort of the Egyptian Arabic culture, like the bazaars and just sort of the sense of intrigue and stuff. I mean, a lot of spy movies and things that I saw when I was a kid, or Indiana Jones and that kind of stuff. That always seems so interesting and eclectic and exciting. But obviously, that's a more hyper real Hollywood version of things. So I don't know if that's actually what it would be like. But I always like the aesthetic of that part of the world. I don't know if right now I would either want to or enjoy that part of the world, but that's a separate issue. Verapane has 7 questions. Holy cow. Okay, I'm going to go through these quick. What is the last book you read, and what is the next one on your list? If you want to count a comic book collection as a book, I just read Earth X, the Marvel comic paperback trade paperback collection of those comics. Why are characters like the Punisher and Dexter so popular? Because they indulge in the kind of dark areas of human desire that real people do not have an opportunity to indulge in. And so they are nice little avatars to help us with our own catharsis of things we would like to do, but society would, and criminal justice and morality and everything else would prevent us from doing. What are your plans for the upcoming Civil War? Hide, I guess. Now this has probably been addressed elsewhere. What is the story for your name and avatar art? Well, the name I've explained. The art, it's just a painting I like. I came across it several years ago. I'm sure I saw it prior to then because it's used on many book covers because it's public domain. But for whatever reason, I came across it again for some reason a few years ago, and it just really struck me. I think somebody else asked me a similar question to this, so I'll save more details on that till I get to it. What is the worst movie I should watch? Movie, not film. That is different. Um, okay. The worst movie you should watch: Plan 9 from Outer Space. Plan 9 from Outer Space is the worst movie that everyone should watch. Either that or Troll 2, but definitely Plan 9 from Outer Space. And his last question: if you answer only one of these questions, which one will it be? You thought you would catch me with that, like you fooled me. Well, I read all these questions ahead of time, and I was benevolent enough to decide to read them all. So there you go. Tam Yin asks, and here we go. This is what I was talking about. I study and work at an art museum and appreciate you choosing such a striking Caspar David Friedrich painting to reflect yourself. I would love to know about any other artists, romantic, gothic, modern, or otherwise, that have made lasting impressions on you, or any you are particularly fond of. Edward Hopper, I have a fondness for. I went to an art show a few years ago that was showcasing his work, and I knew about Nighthawks, obviously. Well, maybe not obviously, but and I hadn't really seen much of his other artwork until then, and I was just very, very much impressed by that. As far as other artists, truth be told, I'm far more well versed in comic book artists than I am in any other kind of artists. But as far as like comic book artists are concerned, one of my favorites is tied to one of my favorite superheroes, or well, he's not so much a superhero, but one of my favorite characters, the Punisher, and that's Mark Texeira. I think I'm saying that right, Mark Texeira. In the '90s, he did a stint on Punisher War Journal, and his artwork, his style, this sort of very hyper realistic, rough edged, gritty style of his was the perfect, as far as I'm concerned, the perfect artwork for the Punisher. And whenever I saw that style, I would always be very happy to see Mark Texeira working. A couple of years ago, I came across a comic book, and I don't remember which one it was. I was looking through, I think, at a bookstore or something, and I noticed that the artwork was very Mark Texeira, and I thought this person is really trying to copy Mark Texeira because it kind of looks like him, but it's not as good as I remember it. So I looked up the artist on the comic book, and it was Mark Texeira. His style had evolved over time to, unfortunately, at least from my opinion on that one comic book, whatever it was, become somewhat of a shadow of itself. But back to the painting that I used for my avatar. There's something about just the isolation of the character and him looking out over the expanse of the world below him. There's a sense of uh, maybe loneliness or contemplation, that he's obviously hiked to get to that height. I don't know. There's a lot of themes going on in that painting that I really like, and it's just a really beautiful painting, I think. Theus Ixion asks, I guess if I were to ask anything, it would be, what did you do before YouTube, and why did you decide to start this? I talked about the irate bear thing, kind of triggered the impulse to attempt this. What did I do before YouTube? My primary hobby before YouTube was video games and doing some tabletop role playing or LARP. Each of those kind of staggered in a staggered fashion, faded out in time from my participation for various reasons. So yeah, I guess that's what I was doing before. Um, and as I've said this before, I have a full time job, so YouTube isn't a career choice for me. It's simply just an Uber hobby at this stage of the game. W.R. Costin asks, what constitutes poverty? That's kind of philosophical, but I guess I would say, in the literal sense, not possessing enough funds in order to um, provide yourself with the basic necessities for living: shelter, food, heat. Yeah. So if you don't have enough money to cover those things, then I would say you're probably poor, depending on what economy or country you happen to be in. Let's see. And lastly, on the video comments, I see people have posted something in the meantime. I'll check those out in a second. Hephaestus32 asks, will there be more reading of your works on your channel? The only reading of my work that I've done so far was on my secondary channel, which is Non-Author Dark. I read off a kind of smutty little short thing I wrote way back when. I don't think I've read anything on this channel, aside from, like, I think I read a blog post way back when, before the election, that kind of thing. Um, I don't write as much now as I used to, and whatever stories I would be able to read to you right now, almost all of them have been posted elsewhere in public, and they would be easily tracked down, and I could be easily doxxed. And while it's not the end of the world if that happens, I'd prefer to hold that off as long as possible and make that choice for myself when the time comes. Some more. Let's see if anybody posted. Oh, a couple of questions. Oh, Scotch. Shell Bell. Okay, Shell Bell, you have asked. I forgot to ask my question. I will make you answer it now. Ha ha ha. What is the vid you are most proud of, and what video do you wish you could do over again or feel you made poorly? Um, the video series that I'm most proud of is the ones that led up to the Boom Experience revision. All of these videos that sort of chronicle that progression are on my YouTube channel playlists. The playlist is called Down the Rabbit Hole. It's some of my earliest work, so the audio and the editing is a little off, and I made a couple of mistakes in one of the earliest videos. But overall, that whole chain of events and I think, causing a school district to revise its policy, um, was probably the series and sort of the outcome that I'm most proud of. Which one would I go back and do over again? There was a TED talk where a guy's talking about his experiences with looking for people of color like him in the animation industry or art industry. I left a lot of things in that video uncommented on that I wish I had commented on more fully. That's the first thing that pops to mind. Scotch asks, will you please follow me on Twitter? Maybe. Let's see. and he's got a request for me to talk about something. Tell you what, Scotch, I will try to bring that up on the monkey stream. Okay, now we're going to go to the Twitter questions. We've got 20 minutes left, so let's see how many of those I can cover real quick. Scribe questions. Pagan Minotaur asks, is there a Mrs. Scribe? No, there is not at present, but who knows? The future holds many mysteries. Let's see what else we got. All right. Skeptic Simba asks, have you watched the film The Shawshank Redemption? I have. It's an excellent film. Underappreciated when it came out in the theaters, but has since gained the attention it deserves, really. Some of the most powerful imagery in a prison. I mean, prison films are always a tough sell because they're usually pretty depressing. Classically speaking, films that take place in or are about prison don't do well because people going to a theater don't want to be depressed, at least on the outset. So they usually don't make that much, and they're usually an iffy sort of investment. But The Shawshank Redemption is one of those that breaks the mold on that. And it's also interesting, it was written by Stephen King, or was based on a story written by Stephen King, which is completely outside the realm of his usual affair. Let's see. iScribe, interesting name. iScribe asks, you're going to need to calm down, mister. Did you take any Ativan today? No, I didn't. It also says this tweet was, wait, this tweet is from August 20th, 2012. What are the odds that there would be a hashtag scribe questions at any point in the past? Okay, I'm answering a question from 5 years ago. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Communist in space. Would you cooperate with radical leftists who are against identity politics and extreme PC culture? Cooperate in what? I mean, like just talk to them? Sure. I don't know what you mean cooperate. I don't really have. It's not like I'm not an activist in that way. So, Austin Confer asks, how do you feel about anime? All depends on the anime. I like a very few select animes that I've been exposed to because I'm not much of an anime freak. Trigun, Hellsing, and in a general sense, Evangelion. Because that's a tough watch because it's just so all over the place. But I like Trigun. Let's see. Inacio Keck Destroyer says, are you going to change your avatar? I've seen like 5 different people with that one. Will you also ever changing your name? I don't plan on changing my avatar. If other people are using it, good for them. It's public domain. I don't have a ownership on it. If I got some piece of fan art that essentially had the same character or in some fashion that was unique, and I liked it, I might use that instead. But I don't see any reason to change it. I'm not going to be doing any Teespring stuff with that on there anytime soon. So, Lemon Jorby asks, do you believe in the Holy Trinity, tits, ass, and pussy? Of course I do. Have you listened to me on the streams? Do you know about my other channel? Oh yeah. Let's see. I have my little helper here sending me little questions. Oh boy. Let's see. Buttercup West. Oh, sorry. Sorry. There's someone before that. Jacob Jimenez asks, Scribe, how long do you expect to keep being a YouTuber, or how long do you expect to keep doing what you do? I'll be a YouTuber as long as I find it interesting and fun. Yeah. As long as it feels like I'm having a good time, and also people are. I mean, as long as people are also enjoying what I do. I mean, like I say, I'm flattered by the fact that I've got 1,200 some odd people that care enough to listen to what I have to say on any given day that hit that subscribe button. But if I wasn't enjoying and sort of expanding my ability to articulate myself or form an argument or critique something, I wouldn't be doing it. So, I mean, if I get bored, I'll stop, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. Buttercup Wesley asks, Scribbles, if you could tattoo anything on your dick, what would you put on there? Hold on tight or welcome aboard? I don't know. Scribe Light, weed, legalize it or not? Legalize it. Legalize it and tax it like alcohol. Make it a federal, just like alcohol or tobacco. But I think that the piecemeal thing the states are doing is a good start as far as a protest, I guess, against the illegality of marijuana. But they're still subject to federal law if they decide to crack down on them. So the safer course is to have the law changed and not just defy it. Um, let's see, Captain. Oh, sorry, no. Austin Conferhow. How do you feel about anime? I already answered that one. Captain Assassin. No, you asked the same one. Weed legalized or not? Okay. Uh, Dickhead Charlie. Why did you start doing YouTube videos? Blame Irate Bear. Austin Conferhow. How do you feel about the Antifa? I think the Antifa is a modern version of the kind of ideological split in liberal thinking that we saw back in the 60s. And I made this comparison earlier today on Twitter. Look up the Students for a Democratic Society, an association from back in the 60s, and see what happened when it started to splinter off into more extreme groups like the Weather Underground or the Weathermen, depending. I think this is just a different version of that same chain of events. I think that if past is prologue, you will see eventually something similar occur, as did with the SDS and the Weathermen. It's going to get worse before it gets better, is the short version. Let's see. The Forbidden Thinker. Here is my question. Have you been blocked by Shives? Not that I know of. Oh, wait. Maybe. Maybe. Let me check real quick. Let's see. Steve Shives. Shives. I think this is him. No, it's a parody channel. Without remembering what his actual deal is, I don't know how to look it up. So I think I was, just because I was probably on the block bot. That was my suspicion, but I could be mistaken. I'll find out and I will post on Twitter whether it was true or not. Let's see. Buttercup again asks, Scribe, would you let me spank you with a fly swatter? No, only I do the spanking. Jack Hack Job asks, what is the art piece in your avatar? It is called The Wanderer Above the Sea Fog by Caspar David Friedrich. Sarosi? I don't know how to say that. I'm sorry. Do you think there will be a moment when the left looks at the damage to learning, colleges, universities, and asks themselves, oh God, what have we done? Like I sort of intimated with the whole Weather Underground thing, I think it might come down to something really, really bad, unfortunately, happening to sort of wake people up to maybe we've gone too far. I don't foresee any kind of reformation or self-reflection taking place until things have gone to a point of crisis, unfortunately. That's not something I'm hoping for. I just think that that is the natural evolution of these things. Kirnoff asks, hey, Scribe, you a libertarian or center left? I think I'm center left. I've taken that political compass thing before, and that put me on the center left. That's kind of how I've always seen myself, though I've moved in relative terms to current events more and more towards the center over the last several years. But that's only because the left has gone so far outside of the realms of reasonableness that that's kind of where it is. Okay, so Mr. Jackson Scales' favorite sport activity. Watching porn, I guess. No, curling. Sorry, curling. That's my favorite sport activity, and I don't participate in the activity because I'm not an athlete. I'm horrible at sports, actual sports. Bedroom athletics, I'm pretty good at. I think I might be biased. But curling, yeah, I love watching curling. Ginger Power, Natalie Wood or Audrey Hepburn? Oh, Natalie Wood. Holy cow. Have you seen the rack on Natalie Wood? Well, I mean, not now, she's dead, but I mean, back then, that James Bond movie. Holy cats. Natalie Wood for sure. Let's see what else we got. Another one from James Koch. Let me get here. What's your opinion on the Hearing Protection Act? The Hearing Protection? I don't know what that is. So that's my opinion. I don't know. Oh, Zack Lujan. Thank you, Zack. Let's see. This broadcast is brought to you by Zack Lujan. For when you need to get out those tough stains, thank Zack Lujan. Someday I'll be a radio announcer, I swear. What else we got? Skeptic Simba has asked, what are your top 5 novels? Well, there's the I can answer most of those in one go. The 4 books in the Harry Turtledove World War series, and then probably Ender's Game. Those are the ones that come up to mind. Ralph Scott. Oh, thank you, Ralph. Got to go back to work. See you on Monkey Stream. Great. See you then, Ralph. Let's see. This broadcast is brought to you by Ralph Scott. For when you need to clean your hair. Yeah, to get that dandruff out. Think Ralph Scott. The other novel. There's, I guess there'll be 6 novels then. There's one I've read on multiple occasions because it is pure pulp, pure cheese, and would make an excellent action movie of the 90s variety. It's called Cain, Cain, by, I believe the author's name is Robert Huggins. And it is just sort of, it's got special forces with a revenge motive. It's got science fiction. It's got Satanism. It's got a big monster killing. It's great. It's just great. I love that book. Let's see. Mr. Jackson Scales, where do you picture yourself in 2 years? In some kind of future mirror? I don't know. In 2 years, probably where I am, maybe. I don't know. I don't have the. It is one of the things that I've always sort of both regretted and felt good about at the same time. Members of my family had an idea of where they wanted to go in life. Like they had a plan. Like they wanted to get this career and do this kind of thing. And they had a path in mind, a goal in mind. And almost all of them didn't reach that goal specifically, but on the way, they at least had an idea of what direction they wanted to head into. I've never really had that. I've never had the I imagine myself having this job or being in this position or being in this situation or whatever else. So on the one hand, I don't have a direction. On the other hand, I can't really be disappointed fully in where I end up. So it's kind of a good news, bad news kind of thing. DB George, what's your take on comedy movies that rely heavily on improv jokes over scripted jokes? Well, if you're going to improv, you better be a good improv. That's all I got to say. As far as scripted is concerned, everything Monty Python ever did was scripted. So it all depends on the creativity of the artists involved. I've seen some really good improv. I've seen some really bad improv. Mashu says the debate on roaming millennials Discord is getting heated. They're discussing the existence of God. Oh, I don't even know. Oh, that's my question. Roman, do you have any contemporary genre novel recommendations? Oh, no, only because I don't read a lot of contemporary novels. I usually go after true crime and serial killers and stuff, or like cheap Star Wars fiction or something. Yeah. And I'm watching the chat now, so hopefully Len Nuggets asks, what kind of GPAs did you pull? Well, depending on whether you're talking about high school or college, between 3.6 and 3.8. I was never a 4.0. I was an underachiever. Let's see. Okay, so now I'm paying attention to the chat. So if you want to put any questions in there, I'll keep my eyes on that for the next 7 minutes before we wrap this up and move over to the monkey stream. I don't think there's anything else on the hashtag scribe questions. Oh, Communist in Space asks, do you believe the blatant lies about the DPRK? I indeed think that the DPRK is the whole thing about the DPRK is a bunch of lies. I honestly do, because North Korea is not a democratic people's republic at all. So it's a dirty, dirty lie. Tailed feature, why am I so great? Probably because of your accent and for no other reason. Peter Hades asks, do you want kids? Um, I I don't want kids as an end in and of themselves. If I had a child, it would only come from first having a solid, trusting relationship with a partner before I even considered having kids. But as I mentioned in previous things, I have the sort of the male version of the biological clock in a sense. I could see myself being a father to like a little girl or something, with the experiences I've had with a former girlfriend who had small children. What else we got? Scribe questions. There's more scribe questions. Let's see. Or at least there supposedly was. Let me check this, make sure. Do you like Wendy's? On occasion. Let's see. Pineapple or pizza, Roman asks. Oh, pineapple on pizza? I don't mind it. I don't pursue it. Let's see. Is communist in space? Is the DPRK a victim of U.S. imperialism? No, it's a victim of itself. Let's see. What else? I think I'm going to call it there, guys. I'm about a couple minutes out from being on the monkey stream, and I want to make sure I get all that squared away. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for your being a subscriber, for coming onto the stream, specifically everybody who showed up. I don't even know how many people showed up. 60 people? That's like 2 whole classrooms from my high school days. Wow. I look forward to doing more videos. I have a couple of subjects in mind for the next couple of days. I hope you enjoy my stuff now and all the stuff I've done in the past. I've been told that my stuff is good for binging. So if you get bored, you can watch a couple videos in a row. Also, I have a notion, and I'll announce this now right before I leave. I'm not going to monetize any of my regular videos. My regular videos will never have any ads on them unless someone claims copyright and puts ads on them themselves. This has happened a couple of times with TED Talks, where they've flagged the content and monetized it for themselves. I am, however, going to experiment with doing something I call monetized Mondays. And so the idea would be each Monday, or whatever Monday I feel like it, I do a little hour-long stream like this about something, some subject or whatever that I'm interested in, and that will be the only kind of content that I put up to monetize. So if you see something called Monetized Mondays, considered turning off the pesky ad block for that video. Given YouTube's current current rules and such, I'll probably make $0. But on the off chance that any pennies come my way for the sake of taking care of what Social Security won't in 20 years, those will be the only videos where you'll see ads. But we'll worry about that in the near future. In any case, thank you all for coming. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your subscribership. I hope to continue to earn your attention and your viewership, and a bunch of other words that I could repeat to myself. And as always, thank you for listening.